Hello everyone, and welcome to this short film outlining the range of courses that we run at the School of Geography and Planning in Cardiff University. You're very welcome. My name is Professor John Anderson, and what I'm going to do is outline our undergraduate courses, some of our approach to teaching and learning, some of the issues around our modules, and our admissions process. So here we go. Alright, so we run 3 undergraduate programmes within the School of Geography and Planning: the BSc in Human Geography, the BSc in Urban Planning and Development, and the BSc in Geography and Planning. And what all these undergraduate programmes benefit from is the close connection that they have to the research that's happening within the school. All our scholars within the School of Geography and Planning work at the cutting edge of their profession, looking at issues of geography and planning connected to the real world, looking at some of the key challenges that we're facing in 21st century society, and those issues form the DNA of our undergraduate programmes. These make sure that our undergraduate students not only have an excellent educational environment in which to work and an excellent education within it, but are also highly employable at the end of their undergraduate career. And that's evidenced by the accreditations that we have for our undergraduate programmes. As you can see, the BSc in Human Geography is accredited by the Royal Geographical Society. Urban Planning and Development has 2 accreditations from the Royal Town Planning Institute and the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, and the Human Geography and Planning degree is accredited again by the Royal Town Planning Institute. And so these undergraduate programmes bring together our research interests in line to give strong education and strong employability for our undergraduate students. And some of the themes that form the bedrock of our undergraduate programmes are outlined on this side. In terms of scales, we not only valorise the importance of the local scale, but the Cardiff City region, the importance of Wales within Britain within Europe, and Europe within the globe, but a number of different themes that cross-cut these scales. And throughout our human geography and planning degrees, issues of the economy, issues of the environment, issues of development, issues of society, and issues of culture are fundamentally important in understanding the contemporary debates that we're interested in. Now, those contemporary debates can perhaps be best summarised by the connections between people and place, as we as scholars are fundamentally interested in those sets of relations in different places across the globe, how human societies and cultures engage with their environments, create different economies, create different forms of development in order to secure their existence and progress human life. So what human geography and planning is fundamentally interested in is those connections between people and places, with people in particular environments, particular societies and particular cultures. And we employ our critical thinking and our analytical skills to understand those problems and try to suggest and implement solutions to them to help transform the world. And it's that approach, if you like, that forms, again, the DNA of our undergraduate programmes that come together with human geography and planning, urban planning and development, and unites us as a school. This educational excellence forms through our modules that I'll talk about in a minute to secure good employability prospects for our undergraduate students. Geography and planning is always at the top kind of 3 or 4 of the most employable undergraduate degrees, and that's because they not only engage with the critical problems of the world out there, but they do so in a way to ensure that students get a high level of transferable skills. They can articulate points, evidence points, in a clear, persuasive manner. They can do so through a whole array of communicative media, through the spoken word, through the written word, through creating websites or press releases, for example. They can engage in critical thinking and communicate that excellently. Secondly, students also have the opportunity through our programmes to not simply understand that in a classroom, if you like, but also in an employable scenario, in through industrial placements, through taking modules that allow them to earn themselves credit as well as getting work placement opportunities, through our professional links in through a whole range of stakeholders in the public, private and third sectors. And our students on our undergraduate programmes not only get these excellent employable opportunities, but also are fully supported both through the academic staff, professional services staff, by each other, as well as the Students' Union, through a whole range of careers and employability opportunities, global opportunities that I'll mention in a minute, and one of the best student unions in Britain. Students get a sense that they are part of a learning community, a part of a social community that can give them the security, if you like, to realise their own potential through their studies. We've mentioned a little bit about employability, and this slide alludes to the range of industrial sectors that our students get employability within, through business and finance, environment and sustainability, travel, leisure and culture, and everywhere in between. Students with geography and planning degrees have a wide array of employment sectors that are open to them as a consequence. So some of our intake know precisely what jobs they wish to go in at the point in which they enter with us, but some of us are still working that out as they go through the process. So what's great about the geography and planning degrees that we offer, not only does it allow students to specialise, but it also allows students to keep their options open. So by the end of it, they can join our alumni in having more than 90% employability rate within 6 months of graduation at the end of their studies. I've mentioned a lot about the education environment, but I also just want to draw attention to another point that I pointed out, the social element of the school. We've said that all our scholars within our school are really motivated by the relationships between people and place, and that goes for our studies, but also goes for the environment and the culture we want to create where we work. We want to work in a friendly, personable, kind, compassionate environment where students are valued in and of themselves as individuals rather than simply anonymous people within the building. And students want the same. Students have the opportunity within geography and planning to have their own societies, and we support the Geography and Planning Society that do their own quizzes, their own social events, their own end of year balls and meals, etc. And they also take every opportunity to ridicule their lecturers whenever they can by beating us in a whole range of sports on occasions throughout the year, but as well as our annual sports day, where through tug of war, football, netball, they beat us. They humiliate us, but it's all part of that process of knowing the students and the staff as 3D, fully fledged human beings that share a professional interest in engaging with the issues that we do, but we do so in a friendly and the most personable way as possible. We're not simply an international school in terms of the subject areas that we cover that I've already alluded to, but we're also an international school in terms of our staff. Here are some flags, and I'm not going to test you on them, but maybe you can try, of some of the socio-demographics and the kind of geographical origins of our staff. This brings a truly global expertise within the school and a global outlook, so students can understand the problems that we face, the solutions we want to implement, but also their job opportunities on a global scale. And that goes for not simply our staff, but our students too. We want to give our students every opportunity to maximise their potential at whatever scale they're most interested in. This might be at the international scale, and so the Cardiff University as a whole offers a Languages for All programme, a free programme for students to introduce themselves to overseas languages or strengthen their existing capacities in order for the intrinsic value of knowing a different language, but also perhaps because they might want to use it as they study abroad. Through the Global Opportunities Centre, all our students have the opportunity to spend one semester studying abroad and earning credit for their degree through that study. Through a range of international partner universities, students can study in English whilst overseas, but also in some universities study in their language of origin overseas and earn credits and come back perhaps slightly more well-rounded with different insights and perspectives on what it's like to be a student abroad, but also what it's like to study issues of geography and planning abroad. And students can get that extra experience as well within the programs that we offer. There are field study visits that run throughout the undergraduate program that I will go into more detail in a moment. So students from the local to the global can broaden their horizons and understand the issues of geography and planning at a whole range of spatial scales. We're housed within the School of Geography and Planning here in the old Glamorgan County building, right at the heart of Cardiff at Cathays Park, surrounded by the law courts, by other university buildings, as well as Welsh Assembly Government, just a couple of minutes walk from the social hub that is the capital of Wales, Cardiff. Now, this is a very grand Georgian building, one that we're very proud to be housed by, but inside it's very different. It's cutting edge and contemporary, with all the software, hardware and bespoke learning environments that you would expect from a Russell Group university that allow us to deliver small group seminars as well as medium to large group teaching in the best possible environment to support students' teaching and learning. These material environments are supported by our unique approach to learning and teaching that seeks to not only ground real-life problems into the heart of our curriculum, but deliver them in an interesting, exciting and innovative way. So from medium to large group teaching in lecture rooms to small group teaching in seminar groups, perhaps groups of less than 15, looking at readings, looking at films and learning through dialogue, through interaction with one another, through conversation, through real life dealing with problems, to field study visit in real life situations. We integrate a whole diversity of teaching approaches at the heart of what we do. This diversity of teaching approaches is also reflected in the diversity of assessment approaches that students get to get a taste of and strengthen their skills within. So through conventional exams, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about the range of exams that we have on a future slide, to the majority of assessments that are non-exam in nature, through essays, through report writing, through writing executive summaries, through writing press releases, to doing perhaps photo essays, perhaps even film essays, to contributing to websites, to writing policy reports. A whole manner of communication systems that students will need to know when they go out in the real world. And so we embed those in our curriculum to allow students to identify their strengths and improve their weaknesses, to raise their game in order to maximise their potential for not only a good grade but also for future employability. This means that our approach to teaching and learning is very student-centred in nature. We put the student at the heart of what we do. We ask them to regularly evaluate us as academic staff so that we're making sure we're delivering in ways that make sense to and resonate with their learning and teaching hopes and ambitions. We have an academic and pastoral student support system through the tutorial system, where every student is nominated an academic member of staff that can be their point of contact about any issue of their undergraduate student life. But I think it's important to note that it's not simply academic and professional services staff that support our students. Other students support our students too. We have a very strong student community through the social aspects that I've already mentioned, but also through a formal mentor scheme where second year and final year students can give support to first year students about their curriculum, about particular issues that they might be facing, both personally and professionally, to enable our students to feel part of the geography and planning community with us in the school at Cardiff University. So from that basis, let me take this opportunity to outline key flavours of our 3 undergraduate programmes that I've outlined thus far. And let's start with the BSc in Human Geography. The first thing to note from this slide, which outlines all the different modules you can take on your programmes, is the difference between red modules and black modules, if you like. The red ones are the core modules, and you can see from Human Geography that actually the core modules reduce over time, whilst the optional modules, those ones in black, proliferate over time. This is really important and intentional, that we give you the key building blocks, the key core modules that you need to understand the disciplines that we're covering here. But also, these core modules give the opportunity to say, it's these subjects that really light my fire and ignite my passion. It's these subjects that I want to opt into in my second year and my final year. So, for example, we cover human geography on this degree, self-evidently by the title, but that's not to say we don't cover physical geography issues. We might cover environmental issues through, for example, modules of environmental change in the first year. We might understand how the physical processes of geomorphology and meteorology affect the world, but we're not necessarily interested in those processes per se. We're interested in the consequences of them, how human societies can engage with them, can seek to modify them, can seek to engage with them in order to ensure that their consequences are not too bad for particular sectors within society. And if we're interested in those particular processes of environment and development, for example, then in year 2 and year 3, those students from that core module can decide, yes, actually, development and underdevelopment and sustainable development are going to be my choice modules in year 2. I might be really interested in climate change and environmental governance, or perhaps housing inequalities in the final year. So students can design their own bespoke degree, whether they're interested in society or development or politics or culture, and ensure that their own individual undergraduate degree is streamed in those ways. All these undergraduate modules have those core elements and have those option elements, and come together in the final year in their research dissertation, and in the urban planning and development module, this is their research project. This is almost the culmination of their studies, where students can bring together those personal interests in an independent research project that they often work on between the year 2 and the year 3 and finish at the Christmas of their final year. They work alongside a bespoke member of staff to enable them to ask their own questions, to implement all the methodological insights that they've gained through their Making Knowledge module in year 1 and the Developing Research Methods in year 2. And so often it's through this research dissertation that students realise, yes, I really want to go into postgraduate study, or this is precisely the type of job I want to go into. And so many students find their job opportunities through that research dissertation or their research project module. And with that, there are other things I want to bring to your attention, particularly in relation to field study visits in this programme, but I'll do so after I've gone through particularly the Urban Planning and Development course next. You can see through this UPD course that there are an array of core modules that stay more or less the same between year 1 and year 3, and that's due to the importance of accreditation for these modules and the bars that we want to hit to ensure that our students have the best opportunity to be recognised by the Royal Town Planning Institute and the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. But you can see that that strong core in no way diminishes the range of particular specialisms students can look into when they're doing this Urban Planning and Development course. So, for example, they might be interested in issues of inclusion within the planning system, and therefore society, diversity in planning, and community engagement, mediation and negotiation skills are the modules for them. They might be more interested in the urban design aspects at a city level, and how planners and other stakeholders require the skills to design and plan a city, and therefore places and plans and urban design guidance in planning practice may be the modules for them. Again, throughout this degree programme, there are a whole range of field study options that I'll come to in a minute. The final programme here is BSc Geography and Planning, that brings together the strengths of those two preceding programmes but unites them in its own particular way. So again, a whole range of core skills, core modules and specialist modules, and for all these 3 programmes I'd encourage you to look at the details on the prospectuses that are available through the Geography and Planning website, as well as the course finder pages that gives you a breakdown detail of these individual modules. But for now, perhaps identify the ones that you think, oh, that would be interesting, and then you can go onto the website and look at them in detail. The Geography and Planning degree brings together some of the modules from the previous programs, but unites them with their own modules to get this particular hybrid view of the concepts of geography and planning, but also the practicalities of urban planning in itself, to unite them together to get that RTPI accreditation and enable our students to engage with those problems in the real world in that particular way. So from key skills about geography and planning through to geography and planning bespoke modules in the final year, a whole range of doing, thinking and critical skills that enables our students to translate those problems faced in the real world into real life solutions. Throughout the three programs that we've discussed, field study visits are an important element of our teaching and our learning process. In year one, they'll be integrated within each module, learning about the locality of Cardiff and the Cardiff City region and Wales. In year two, we want to go out in the field and do stuff. And we go to mainland Europe for our year two field study visits, be that Amsterdam for human geography, Copenhagen for human geography and planning and urban development and planning, and Berlin for human geography as well, depending on the modules that you choose. These gives us the opportunity to look at the way in which the thematic issues that we've looked at in year 1 and 2 play out in different real life contexts. And I think it's important to note that the year 1 and the year 2 field study visits are all fee inclusive. There won't be any extra cost through the travel and the residential stays in these year 1 and year 2 field study visits. In year 3 though, we go global, and we go to global cities across the planet, be they in Cape Town in South Africa, Los Angeles in California, or New Orleans. Our students get the opportunity to see how these particular locations do the kaleidoscope of all the issues that we're looking at in slightly different ways, and issues of social justice, issues of city development, issues of urban design play out in these particular microcosms across the planet. These field study visits are optional, so students don't have to engage with them if they wish for a lower carbon undergraduate degree. But it's important to note that these field study visits in the final year are subsidised as well by the school, up to 66%. So we ask for students, if they wish to go on these overseas field study visits, to contribute a third of the cost to the travel and the residential stay within these overseas locations. They come together to provide a really useful full stop, or perhaps exclamation mark, to their final year of study, to both socially and professionally working with their cohort to understand some of the themes that we've been looking at in real life contexts. So we've talked a little bit about our programs, and in normal conditions students will study 6 modules a year, the equivalent of 20 credits, and get between 12 and 15 hours contact time in any given week. What with the reading and the tasks and the associated assessments that are associated with that contact time, students can expect the equivalent of a working week in order to secure appropriate marks for their modules. So perhaps between 12 or 15 hours of contact time will double at least in relation to the associated work that will be given around that more particular contact time of lectures, seminar and work in the field. We will deliver this in normal conditions around lectures and seminars and work in the field, like I've already outlined, in a whole range of settings, lectures, seminars, studios and workshops, in order that we can deliver the things that I've already spoken about in relation to allowing students to realise their potential in the most employable a way possible. That comes together through not only the academic staff delivering materials, but also the way in which the particular DNA of our school allows us to connect and introduce students with experts working in the field, a whole range of stakeholders and practitioners across the vast array of expertise within the school, but be it for local unitary authorities, local governments, national governments, a variety of private and public sector organisations and NGOs, and bring them into our classrooms and have them as part and parcel of our undergraduate curricula, so students can engage with, talk to, discuss afterwards, discuss after the lecture, the ways in which particular issues play out in practice, and they can introduce themselves and say, well, perhaps can I do a dissertation on this and work with you in place X, and perhaps even get a placement opportunity with you in place A. This is the way in which our undergraduate programmes really benefit from that stakeholder engagement that is part and parcel of the research that we do in a school. I also want to bring your attention to some of the ways in which we're assessed in terms of these undergraduate programmes. A whole range of blended assessment. I've given an example there about year one. So for example, you can see that less than 20% in year one is formally assessed through exams. And as you go to second year and the final year, that reduces down, so almost none of our final year assessment are done through exams. So students have this opportunity to work in a whole range of communicative media to articulate themselves and make persuasive, evidenced arguments in order to secure the best marks. Finally, I'd just like to draw your attention to the admissions process in relation to these undergraduate programmes. So our typical offers for 2021-22 entry are aligned there in relation to programmes, in relation to A-levels, but also in relation to the International Baccalaureate and equivalent institutions, equivalent accreditations and examinations, I should say. We welcome a whole host of qualifications, but they would associate with the equivalent tariff regimes in relation to those programmes. And of course, part and parcel of your UCAS entry is these grades that I'll say a little bit more about in a minute, but also the personal statement. And we really welcome your personal statement. It's an opportunity for you to get yourself across on paper, to say, this is why I'm really interested and passionate about the subject, about how this connects to my real life, and why I want to study it with you. We want to read about that. We want to have you in our school and talk to you about this, perhaps at an open day, and even when you come to study with us. Look upon your personal statement not as this obstacle you have to come over, but a real opportunity to convey to us your passion and your interest in the subject. And if it's Cardiff you wish to come to, then make us your firm choice. We will make you an offer based on our typical offer range that was outlined on the previous slide, and you'll get a notification from UCAS, and then hopefully you can come and see us in the flesh on an open day. If you make us your firm choice, then that's a statement from you that you want to come to study with us in Cardiff, and we want to respond to that statement from you in kind. So we will ensure that if you put us as your firm choice, even if you drop a grade in the subsequent exams, etc., A-level and other, then we will honour the commitment that we've made to you. We'll not only guarantee your place, but we'll guarantee you a place within university accommodation. We understand that this process of going through the UCAS cycle can be one that's wrought with anxiety. We want to make it simple and straightforward for you. If you like our programmes, if you like Cardiff as a city, if you want to be part of us, then put us your first choice. And even if you slip up to the tune of 1 grade, we will guarantee you a place. So for example, if you were made an offer of AAB to study human geography, you will still have your place and a place in university accommodation should you wish it, even if you drop to ABB. Okay, many thanks for your time here today. We're here as a school to answer your questions, so if there's any other further questions, then please contact the school by email and we will make sure we respond to your query. Thanks for listening.